All right, everybody, this is Tom Lepa. Lesson number, is it 11 now? I believe it is 11. Might be 12, but I just want to welcome you. It's been a while since I've been with you. Let me see if I can go to the slideshow here. Got it all going. I think we're doing okay. See what we can do from the beginning. Yeah, there we are. So welcome, and just want to say hello to everybody. And it's been a little while since I've been with you. Here I am again, and I just having this has been a great study time for me up to this area. We are going to be going into chapter number 7 today. We're in the thick of the terminology that might throw some people. I want to be explaining some stuff today to you, explaining it to you as best as I can. The truth is, it makes sense. When you do it this way, it makes total sense. Well, you may not get every little nuance, may not get every little thing about the judgment and why this is happening, what's taking place, but there are a lot of things that can be explained. But I want to give a quick and brief recap. This is important because I think I've said it a few times, but I really want to make sure that you understand it. So, Revelation is a book of unveiling, um, and it was things that were soon to take place, not 2,000 years into the future. I've lost a good chunk of Christianity right there. It's because for so long they've been taught that the Lord is to come, and they believe the word soon is always in that category. And yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. But what I find is if I put myself back into the shoes of those or the life of those living at the time that they had received this scroll, this book, into their church, that when they heard the word that would soon take place, or behold, I come quickly, Jesus said on many occasions, that they took it for what he was talking about. They didn't say, well, we don't care. It's a long way into the future. No, they believed it would be soon. And in my estimation, it was soon, within 40 years. So Revelation is not judgment on the whole earth. Parentheses, the word globe, Globe. Why am I saying that? Because when you read the word earth, we have a tendency to think about the globe, don't we? We have a tendency to think about the earth and this big ball in just kind of floating out there in space. But when we read the word earth, it comes from, and this is many times in Revelation, not just once or twice, but many times. I'm going to look and find out if there's any other time than this one word I'm going to share with you that where it's not mentioned when it talks about the word earth. But so far, every time the word earth appears, it comes from a Greek word, ge, G-E, in our English. And it's either ge or gi, but depending, right, on how one would pronounce it. But it means earth or land. Doesn't mean globe. It means soil in some instances, but it does not mean globe. That's cosmos. So this would be Revelation is not judgment on the whole earth, the cosmos, but on Judea as a whole and Jerusalem in particular. I've said that many times. Revelation is not a book about the end of the world. Praise the Lord. I don't sit around worrying about every little thing happening in the world that this is it. A nuclear war is soon to come. Disaster is on the horizon. We're heading for rough, bad, awful times. No, this is the best time to be alive. This is the greatest time to be honoring Jesus in this world. Something is happening in the world, and I mean the world, that this is taking place around this globe and it's happening before our very eyes. And I believe that it is going to get to the place where we are going to witness some wonderful things from the church in the era that we're living in. These are not times to be running to the hills, but time to be running to the mountaintop, declaring the Lord is the King of Kings. Well, I just kind of said that top of my head, but this is not a time to be running away from anything. It's a time to be out and about doing what God has called us to do. So Revelation is not a book about the end of the world. All right, today we're going to study Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17, and Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 8. Like I'm saying many times now, we are going to discuss some amazing and difficult things to understand. That's the reason why Revelation is mostly neglected. As soon as somebody reads something that they don't get an understanding to, that they quit. They stop right there. And now, again, this study may not be for everybody. Well, I know it's not for everybody. You may not be ready to hear these things, maybe at a later date. I don't mean ready like, intellectually, but ready in a spiritual sense, ready to grasp what I'm talking about here. You may not be there. This may not be a study that you're even caring about right now. So it's not going to even meet the slightest need within your life. But you may be one of those that has a hunger for this. And if you do, then the next part here, what if I could answer some questions concerning this text? What if it does have that something that I can explain to you? Yeah, what if there's something about it that would really meet your need? The doubters and critics would still not be satisfied, no matter what we're going to do. Have you ever tried to share Jesus with an unbeliever, somebody maybe from another cult or another sect, and they're just not going to hear anything about Jesus as God? Well, you get the point. But if you dare to go forward, I'm going to say right here and now, enjoy this study. Today's agenda: sun darkened, moon turns to blood in color, stars fall from heaven, and then 144,000 are defined. This is in the context of our study today. And I put the word what? Yeah, what are you talking about? I want to read to you then the text here out of Revelation, chapter number 6, chapter 6. And then I want to share with you some things about it. So here's our agenda, at least the first half of our agenda. And I beheld, and he had opened the sixth seal. And lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree ceases her untimely fruit when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their place. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? That's the first half of our study. The moon turns to blood in color, the sun is darkened, stars fall from heaven. What is going on? Weird signs. That's what this next part of our lesson says. The sixth seal is open and something takes place that seems at first glance to be confusing and difficult to understand. There are signs in the heavens: the sun turning dark, the moon to blood red, the stars now falling out of heaven to the earth. That seems very unlikely. And he mentions so many of them that it's like a fig tree casting off its fruit, not in its season, but it's been shaken by a mighty wind. Then the heavens are departed as a scroll. Every island is moved out of its place. The land is shaken. This sounds like I put down earthquake, but I meant to say great earthquake. And once again, we are left to speculation. Well, there were earthquakes in and around 70 AD during this time. So that is not beyond possibilities. But let's talk about these weird signs for just a moment and see what's really going on. All right, Josephus and his book and his writings, he talks about signs. Is there anything in history that even gets close to the signs Jesus spoke of in his writings? Well, Jesus did talk about some great signs. We'll read some of those in a moment. But yes, Josephus speaks about some things that you need to hear. And I want to share with those with you right now. Now, in Josephus's book, and this is called The Jewish War, there are several books inside of the book, kind of like your Bible has several books within the one book. All right, so Josephus has several here. I'm going to go through those, and at the very bottom, you'll see there for yourself. And by the way, I've highlighted some of these, and I'm kind of showing these to you, but honestly, I don't think you can see them. I just want you to see, I've got the book here called The Jewish War. So I'm not pulling this off the internet. I'm not getting it from any other source than Josephus and what he wrote. He mentions that there were signs in heaven at the siege of Jerusalem or just prior to that. The first one is that I recorded. There's actually 7 that he mentions right here on this page. I think it's 361. Yes, it is. But he said there was a sword in the sky. Here's the quote. So it was when a star resembling a sword stood over the city, Jerusalem, and a comet which continued for a year, and that happened around 66 AD. And I mentioned to compare Matthew 24:30 with that, but these are signs in the sky. Now we know what a comet looks like. So I wonder if he's bringing the two together, the comet that stayed within the sky for a whole year, continuing through the sky. I don't know how this all works, but let's just say it's possible, but resembling a sword, I can see it, right? So there's the answer to that. Now, the next one is a bright light stood round about the altar. There was a bright light that came around the altar. If this was midday, big deal, right? But this occurred around 3 o'clock a.m. Josephus mentions that. And then the third one, which I think is really important to hear, because it's not only mentioned by Josephus, but it's also mentioned by a Roman historian called Tacitus or Tacitus. And that guy is right here. Boom. You might not have seen that clearly either. Sorry about that. But this is what's mentioned there. Quote, and again, not many days after that festival, on the 21st of Artemisium, late spring, there appeared miraculous phenomenon signs. I always mess up that word. Passing belief. Indeed, what I am about to relate would, I imagine, have deemed a fable were it not for narratives of eyewitnesses and for the subsequent calamities which deserve to be signalized. For before sunset, through all parts of the country, Judea, chariots were seen in the air and armed battalions hurling through the clouds and encompassing the cities. He mentions these as angels, as spirits floated up in the sky, ready for battle. Now, this is found in Josephus, The Jewish War, Book 6, page 361. That's the page I was showing you to show you I'm not pulling that out of a hat somewhere. And there are things of interest here. Very interesting. Well, these were signs in the sky in and around 70 AD. Well, what about the sun darkened and the moon turned into blood? Well, here is my explanation. I believe it does hold some weight, and you'll see why in a moment. The Romans used numerous catapults and ballistae to fire both small and huge stones into the city. The larger catapults could send boulders as heavy as 57 pounds for up to 400 yards. These were amazing weapons. There was as many as 160 of these deadly machines. That would be the two that were just brought out here, the catapults and the ballistae. So that's a lot. Now, why is that important? Well, and oh, before I get there, one stone in particular, and it mentions this in the book of Revelation, we'll get to it, weighed as much as 100 pounds. They could throw a 100-pound stone boulder into the city. Can you imagine the sound of this thing coming down? Can you imagine the fear that was upon them as these were coming down upon the city all the time? They were firing day and night. And it could cause the sun to seem like it was not able to shine. How was that? If a building is hit and it's made out of rock and wood or whatever, when it goes up, there's going to be a cloud of dust or smoke, as it were, going into the air. Multiply that times 1,000 as these things are flying into the city. And it may seem as all this dust and whatever, this debris in above you is causing the sun not to be able to shine through it. Well, what about the moon turning to a blood-like color? Well, I've been in a part of the world, Tucson, Arizona, during a fire season when a nearby mountain, which we had a mountain that had trees on it, sounds hard to believe in a desert as Tucson, but very close to us, about an hour outside the city, were these mountains. They caught on fire. At night, during a full moon, the moon looked like it was blood red or dark orange in color because of the haze from the fire. Okay, I get it. That could happen. So it could, now I'm just saying could, cause the sun not to shine and the moon to look like it was blood in appearance. I put on the bottom, these are possibilities. You can take it or leave it, whatever you want, but it makes sense to me. So I want you to think about that. And so let's see here. There we go. So I put it again. What about the stars falling out of the sky? What of these catapults? Now, when it shot something off, I don't know the look at night that it might have. But what if it was flying into the city and it would lit up somehow and that it would appear as a star, this big boulder would appear as a star falling out of sky? That's a possibility. So these boulders were shot by 160 catapults, all firing off huge stones or these smaller bullets or smaller stones. And I'm assuming 24 hours a day, at least 12 hours a day, going into the city. I'm just saying that's what it could be right there. Now we come into Revelation chapter number 7, and we have some more interesting things happening. And I want to read these to you because I believe it's something that we need. 144,000. Think about that for a moment. Think about how difficult that would be for people today trying to figure this out. Now, the trouble is 12,000 come from each tribe. 12 times 12 is 144. 12,000 times 12,000 is 144,000. And so, that's going to be a little further down, but let me read the first part of this. I think it's interesting what he says here. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were 144,000 of the tribes of the children of Israel. He goes into it here, verse number 5, all the way down to 8. He mentions every tribe. He mentions 12,000. Let me share with you right here why this is not today's Jewish people. Could not be. It's impossible. And here's why. At that time, the people still knew what tribe they were from. There was a record of that in the temple in Jerusalem. Those records were destroyed in 70 AD, the stuff we're talking about, with a fire in the temple. And then the temple itself was ransacked and gone through for every bit of gold that they could get their hands on from the fire that had taken place and melted all the gold. In other words, not one stone left upon another. So in that year, yes, they knew I'm of the tribe of Judah, I'm of Benjamin, I'm of Asher, I'm of Naphtali, or whatever it might have been, Joseph with his two half tribes. Those are the things, the tribes that are mentioned. But I do not believe the 144,000 is a number that you can take as exactly that number. Now, I'm going to explain why here right now. There's a church historian called Eusebius. He records something interesting. I want to read this for you and where they went. This is part of our church history, and I'm going to show you the reference here in the next slide. This large group, a large group, left Jerusalem and went to Pella, as Eusebius records in his history, his church history. Quote, the whole body, however, of the church at Jerusalem, having been commanded by a divine revelation given to men of approved piety there before the war, removed from the city to a certain town beyond the Jordan called Pella. Here, those who believed in Christ removed from Jerusalem as if holy men had abandoned the royal city itself and the whole land of Judea. Now, what is going on here? This guy, Eusebius, writes this. He records this. He's not alone. But this is going way back in church history. Well, where did I get all this from? Here it is. There's the Greek word. There's another word I can't pronounce. There's the history of the church in the Historia in the Latin. I can write it. I can read that a little bit in the history. That word I see right there is Historia, and that's history. Anyway, so he writes about the history of the church or the church history. It's a 4th century chronological account of the development of early Christianity from the 1st century to the 4th century. It's composed by Eusebius. He was the bishop of Caesarea, written in Koine Greek and survives also in Latin, Syriac, and Armenian in their manuscripts. Amazing. We have this reference. Now, what about this going on? Is there anything in the Bible? I'm giving you some history here. Let's just read it out of the Bible. Luke chapter 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. It's close at hand. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. They got to leave with haste, is what he's saying here. These be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations and perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Now, I'm going to stop right there. That's Jesus' words. If you're in Jerusalem and you're in the year 70 AD or leading up to that year, off in the distance, now, a point to be made, war was fought a lot different in this era. You could see 100 miles away a battle going on and not be affected in Jerusalem. The Romans were marching toward Jerusalem. That was the prize. Once they took that city, they took it all. But there were other battles they had to fight on the way. And on the way, if you were at the city of Jerusalem, you might have been able to look into the far distance or have somebody come by and say, there's a terrible battle taking place over there. These were things happening. Hear of wars and rumors of wars. These were wars happening, and the rumor of war might come in your way. It's all taking place at this particular time, at this particular moment in history, so that all things might be fulfilled and that the Lord might come back and set up his heavenly kingdom on the earth, a kingdom we don't see with our natural eye. Okay, enough for that. So this guy, Eusebius, he hears about this stuff. He's been hearing about it. He writes about it. He tells where they went, a town called Pella, which is north of the city of Jerusalem. When these armies are seen, when this begins to happen, they flee out of the city. And there's recorded in history about a great exodus taking place during this time. So he's not the only guy that wrote about it, but there were others that would come along. Josephus doesn't mention something like this. He does say that people tried to escape the city, but they were instantly apprehended or killed or something. They didn't make it out easily. But this group was prior to this. They made it out easily, and they went to Pella. And there is reference in the Bible that they were taken care of. I'll be into that in just a little bit. Let me move my guy over here. Now, the Roman army had the ability with their weapons against Judea and Jerusalem into all the areas that were conquering. And yeah, they might have had unusual signs. This is my conclusion. They might have had unusual things taking place. Sun is darkened, the moon is turns to blood. That is possible. The number 144,000 may not be an exact number, but it can be taken literally that a large group of every tribe of Israel had fled the city. Remember that Jerusalem is mostly Jewish people, and these people knew what Jesus said. By history, we know that there was a group that did leave Jerusalem and Judea during this time, and they fled to Pella. These are things that could have happened easily. You don't need to have someone explaining like a nuclear bomb is going to explode or stars falling out of heaven. I don't even know what they try to say about that. I'm sure there's explanation for all kinds of things, but I think this makes the most sense. This is what was taking place in and around Jerusalem from 66 AD to 70 AD. There were great signs in the sky, as Josephus said. I could go on, but I need to bring this to a close. I just want you to get a grip of what I'm trying to bring across to your attention, that this is the end of a certain time that, and I won't be able to make myself bigger, it doesn't look like, but I want to bring an end to this episode. Thank you for tuning in with me. Blessings on you. Very exciting time. So we're going to be stopping the recording, and here we go. Stop sharing. Goodbye.